Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Know It Alls Talk Ball podcast. My hands are free. I don't have a stupid mic on my hand, but it does give you power.
It does. I feel so powerful right now.
Nothing gives a European team power quite like winning the Champions League, wouldn't you say?
I think you would say, yeah.
It is the most prestigious club trophy in all of world football. And we had a very spicy draw.
Yes, a spicy draw, but I got to say I was massively disappointed with the quality of football games that we got out of it.
In the round of 16, or yes, well, I was somewhere the quarterfinal draw is very spicy.
Oh, yes, the game's coming up.
Yes,
yeah.
but I completely agree with you. The round of 16 was awful.
Yeah,
like, considering what we thought, I think only Chelsea and Dortmund kind of lived up to the hype. Like, those two games were kind of fun.
It was kind of underwhelming the way it was decided by a shitty penalty and then a penalty retake.
Yeah.
And then I was...
And it was kind of over after that because Chelsea kind of had control of the second leg, I felt. And Bayern PSG was a huge letdown. Both legs I thought were so boring to watch.
Really bad. Yeah. Like, PSG would just... It wasn't like Bayern were good. It was PSG was so bad.
And Bayern were just comfortable to hold on to the ball and create the few chances they did.
Yeah, why create more chances when you don't have to?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna instead of predicting, we have got to start looking back at our predictions.
I have no idea what I predicted.
No idea. So you guys are just gonna have to go back and look at that. Give us some more. Give us our sixth view on that video.
I'm pretty sure I said PSG to beat Bayern. So
I think I might have said the same.
So that's not good. But anyways, who cares?
what we're gonna do for this one is a little bit different. We're not gonna guess every round
and score and so on.
Yeah, we're gonna rank the 8 teams that are left in the Champions League
and the likelihood that we feel they will win the Champions League.
Yeah, so the idea is least likely at number 8.
Most likely at number 1.
You'd think these things are self-explanatory, but we might as well.
Yeah, we might, just in case. It's like, so at number 8, and people are like, what?
I mean, you never know who's that. I chucked my bike key in the trash.
Yeah, we should have recorded this an hour ago, but Jason thought that he was Kobe and threw his keys in the trash. So.
And didn't realize, so I had to use my bike again. Anyway, let's get into it. At number 8, who you got?
So before we start with the ranking, let's just preface a little bit. On one side, since now they do the quarterfinal and the semi at the same time, we got Man City, Bayern, Real Madrid, Chelsea. The winner of those two play each other in the semis. On the other side, we have Napoli against AC Milan and Inter against Benfica. Winners play each other in the semifinal. At number 8, I have gone for AC Milan.
I have gone for the other Milan team. It is Inter Milan that I've got at number 8.
Why do you have Inter? In a few quick words.
I mean, I think we're all surprised to see 3 Italian teams
and
make
not
it this
one
far.
of them being Juve. Like, if you would have said that at the beginning of the year, I think I would have been like.
If you said that 5 years ago, I would have been
like, who? Lecce?
But yeah, I watched. I watched a lot of the extended highlights for the Inter Porto game, and it was really they were hanging on. They were hanging on. I think maybe we watched the end.
We watched the end, the last 10 minutes, because they added like 10 minutes at the end, and they hit the crossbar 3 times in the space of 3 shots.
That was one of the crazy finishes.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah. As we just chucked it on, we're like, why not? I think Man City were up 6-0.
Yeah, we just won 6-0. 7.
No, you won. Yeah, you won 7, but at 6, I was like, "Can we check the other game?" I'm kind of sick of watching this. So yeah, that is why I've got Inter in there. They didn't look very good. They haven't looked that great in Serie A this season as well. Very inconsistent. Not to say that Milan haven't been, but I think they put on a resolute display against Spurs. Against Spurs. But yeah, tell me why have you got Milan?
So I've gone for Milan because, like, I agree they did find a way to beat Spurs in the end 1-0 on aggregate. However, I thought that they weren't actually that good. The goal that they scored in the first leg was fucking crazy shenanigans. Like, the ball bounced about 3 times and Brahim Diaz literally dives over Fraser Forster to get the header in. They're also struggling, trying to push for that top 4. Roma's right there, Atalanta's right there. Like, it's so packed, and I can see Milan going like, let's just go for the league and try to get Champions League next year. I just wasn't really impressed. And realistically, if Milan were to get through Napoli and then were to get through their next game, I don't give them any shot against whoever comes up on the other side. Like, I really do not think that they're going to. I just don't think that the team's that good. And, like, Rafael Leao has been a bit inconsistent with the way he's been playing. Like, he doesn't start that much. Like, if he was on amazing form, then maybe, because he's so good. But, yeah, I just don't really see, like, that they'll do much. I think that they're even like lucky to even be in this position.
Yeah, I think they did get a little. Spurs had a huge chance at the end of the game as well. Now that I remember, but both Milan teams. I really.
I think we both have both Milan teams as our bottom teams, because I've gone 7 for Inter Milan.
Yeah. And I've gone with AC Milan at number 7. So that pretty much sums up both our points, that we just haven't been impressed with either of these two teams.
I think the only reason why I have Inter slightly ahead, a lot of the same reasons that you talked about. I just think that up until those last 10 minutes of chaos from everything that I managed to watch, Inter did defend really well. And I think over 2 legs, they could potentially do something, because it's like, well, we have the first leg where we win 1-0 at the San Siro, and then we go away to the Stadio da Luz in Lisbon and just draw 0-0. I could definitely see them do that, progress, and maybe even do it again. But if we talk final, 90 minutes, there's no, like, I think they're more built for 2 legs where they can just sit back on one and hit on the counter in the second. When they actually have to play a game for 90 minutes and knowing they'll come up against like a juggernaut, I don't really give them a chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well put. I think, should we move on to number 6?
Let's move on with number 6. Who do you have at number 6?
I've gone with Benfica.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
How come?
I mean, they've obviously been incredibly impressive this season. Who's there? Roger Schmidt.
He's on fire.
Their manager is in crazy. They're in crazy form in
the
Portuguese league.
Maybe their most influential player, Enzo Fernandez, and have not lost a beat.
They've
been
not skipped
just
a beat
as
at all.
good.
But yeah, the reason I've got them in here, it's not because that they're not good. It's just that I consider every team above them to be better than them.
Right.
I don't think that I can put them up there with the likes of even Chelsea. I have put above them, obviously. I can't see them doing it in the Champions League.
I think that's a fair fair assessment of the situation. I don't have Benfica at 6. I actually have Chelsea, the team that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I think it's an incredibly tough test to have to go to Madrid to play the next round, just because of the pedigree of Madrid. Potter, of course, has never coached in the Champions League, and sure, he went to Signal Iduna Park. Going to the Bernabeu on a Champions League night is like a different monster, like a completely different animal that you're facing. Potter is starting to get the team gelling a little bit. It seems like at least he's got the front line. When he plays Sterling, Havertz, and Joao Felix, they seem to play well together, and they are starting to find some groove. If they do manage to beat Madrid, which I don't think that they will, I don't see them beating Bayern or City. I just think that the mentality of Chelsea is not that strong yet, because I think they've gone through so many ups and downs this year that another down is going to crash the team instead of make it like, oh yeah, we can fucking do it. Like, I think that they've gone through so many mental like punches this season that I don't know if they can handle another one.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Chelsea in the next spot.
Okay.
I think we're going to be flip-flopping a little bit like this. But, I mean, I think if Chelsea... Are they playing at the Bernabeu first or at the Bridge?
I checked today. They are.
If they could pull off a miracle in that first leg, I think it could completely change, like you were saying, the mentality that they've had this season and the punches that they've been taking. That could absolutely...
That's true. A huge assault at Bernabeu. And with the talent, like, the team is insanely stacked. They could make 3 teams that could probably, like, the top one could play in the Champions League, the second one could play in the Europa League, and the third one could play in the Conference League easily.
And I think Real Madrid as well, they've been good, but they've had plenty of slip-ups this season. They have not been...
La Liga
they've been good in the Champions League, but are they going to be able to bring it again? Because, I mean, that's... We were going into the Liverpool game, and I think both me and you had them going... Liverpool beating Real Madrid?
I had Madrid beating Liverpool.
Oh, okay.
Now that I say that out loud, I'm not so sure I did.
Yeah. Someone go back and check that. But yeah, I think Real Madrid is a team capable of losing, but it is that they have that insane edge somehow in the Champions League.
It's that Champions League dog in them.
It's exactly.
Like they have that Champions League dog in them, and I think the thing is that Liverpool was, to me, because you were just talking about Chelsea. If we can move on from that, from Chelsea.
Sure, I think you got to give
me
me number 5 as well.
So my number 5 is Real Madrid.
Wow.
So I put Real Madrid there because I think that the Liverpool game is...
Wait, so you haven't said Benfica yet, have you?
No, I have not.
Wow.
So the Liverpool game, to me, is a perfect smoke screen for a team like Madrid, right? You have a huge club like Liverpool. You have the rivalry of last year's Champions League final, the other Champions League final, like this historic rivalry that's been created through just European nights. And I totally agree. I mean, they also played Champions League finals in the 80s against each other and stuff. But the big thing that Liverpool struggled with this year is their midfield has looked completely out of form, out of shape, like just no midfield. They basically just play with a defensive line and up top.
And that's
Real Madrid,
the one part of Real Madrid's team that
that's just
works.
fucking incredible because they have Luka
never
Modric,
goes wrong.
Tchouaméni, Fede Valverde, Toni Kroos, Camavinga, like just talent, like Dani Ceballos if you want, like just talent after talent, like so many talented players. And that 5-2 win looked amazing at Anfield. And then the 1-0 win they had at the Bernabeu, maybe not as impressive scoreline, but if you actually watch the game, they were literally playing at like 40% speed. Like they had no threat. Liverpool did not threaten at all.
But I think in that second game as well, it was quite clear that how bad Liverpool were.
And I mean, they started Milner. Like that's basically conceding the game. Like your midfield last game looked like shit, and now you're gonna start Milner in there. Like come on, like.
Yeah. But let's go.
But let me tell you why I have them at 5.
Okay.
The smoke screen. Like you said, I don't think they're as good. And there's a lot of uncertainty with Ancelotti. Like, everybody keeps linking him to Brazil. Like, the Brazilian FA president came out and said that they're going to try everything to get Ancelotti. Ancelotti himself has come out in interviews and made jokes like, yeah, Vinny and Militao are recruiting me. Like, it's pretty clear that he's going to go to Brazil.
Yeah, and I think either that or he's just going to retire. The man's, how fucking old is that guy?
I mean, he might also be, like, the greatest coach of all time.
He's up there,
He's up there. So, like, there is no shame in that. I think there's just too much uncertainty. They come up... They'll probably beat Chelsea, but against City and Bayern, they do have that dog in them, but do they have it as much as other years? I think Benzema's also like a little bit lost in all this fame that he's always been famous, but now he's Ballon d'Or when he just comes up with like weird shit that he says on social media and stuff. So like, I just don't see them as centered as other years.
Okay.
So that's why Madrid are at 5. Who do you have at 4?
I have got Bayern at 4.
Wow, that's a little bit lower than I thought you might have them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Nagelsmann thing is going to blow up in their face. Why? I'm not going to get into it. I think it's just really random. And then
I don't like Nagelsmann. I still felt terrible for him.
Yeah,
like I really dislike him. I never met him, but just what I see on TV and like his interviews, I find him really quite spoiled.
Okay.
But wow, did I feel terrible for him?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even know until he found out through social media that he got fired. Like that is awful.
That's mad. But yeah, another reason why I have them there as well, I think like Liverpool was a smokescreen for Real Madrid. I think PSG is a bit of a smokescreen for Bayern because PSG are just so bad as a team. Like, yes, and you've got you know Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, and you're like, oh my god, this team is insane. Yeah. You know, but they're just a terrible, terrible team to watch.
They're not a team.
They're not a team. Exactly. No. They're not a team. So I think their result in that game might be a bit deceptive. And, you know, and if you look at their Bundesliga form, it's...
I mean, you can see why Nagelsmann, like, the expectation as a Bayern coach is ridiculous.
That you're 10 points clear at all times.
Yeah, like literally. Yeah, now they're 2 behind, and it's like, we got to get rid of this guy. Like, the expectations are crazy, but it is not a lie that they have not been consistent in the league. And I think the biggest thing, like, because I tend to watch a lot of Bundesliga since I have a lot of German friends, And what you see when you watch Bayern is that, yeah, they control the ball, they make beautiful link-up plays and stuff. They can't finish their dinner. Like, they do not have a guy who can finish every chance that gets put in front of them. They got Choupo-Moting, third time that Thomas Tuchel has coached this motherfucker. I don't know how.
Wait, how?
I don't know.
PSG?
At PSG, at Bayern, and I guess at Mainz. I don't know when he coached him, but apparently it's three times that he's coached him now.
Ah, shit, he's going to have him firing. He's going to have a 50-goal season.
He might finish hot.
But yeah, who have you got at number 4?
So I've gone for Benfica.
Okay,
at
fair
number
enough.
4.
Yeah, that's kind of obvious.
I couldn't go any further than 4.
Yeah, I'm shocked that you have them above Madrid.
Yeah, I think the only reason is because the run is easier, right? Like, if they win, they would either play Napoli or Milan.
I was ranking mine sort of on
just how good the team is.
How good the team is, what chance I give them of it. Because, I mean, to win the Champions League, you're going to have to beat the best at some point.
Exactly, exactly.
So,
but I do think the favorable run, like, I think if there were still a semi-final draw, Benfica would be lower. But since there isn't, and now we know who they're playing, if they play Napoli, awful game. But if they play Inter, if they play AC Milan, I can feasibly see them, like, smash Milan.
Yeah, and once you're in the final... You're in the final.
It's anyone's game. It's anyone's game. And one thing we know for sure about this Benfica side, because we watched them a lot during the group stages, was that they're not scared of anyone. Like, they'll go to the Parc des Princes and try to outplay PSG. They'll go to Turin and outplay Juventus. They'll have these big teams come to Lisbon and outplay them. And against Bruges, like, sure, Bruges was definitely the worst team left in the Champions League. But they did exactly what they should have done, which was blow them out of the water. Like, they beat them, 3-0 away, 5-0 at home, 5-1 at home, something like that. Yeah. I think that the team is good. They're super confident. They have quite a gap in the Portuguese league, so that allows them to, like, rest players for bigger games. Yeah. I think that the draw is really favorable for them, and if they get to the final, I would actually give them, like, a fair shot, because you just know whatever team they're facing from the other bracket is going to underestimate them, like every other team has so far this season in the Champions League. So I think that they really do have a shot. They play really good football. They have great coach, great players, so they might be there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Who do you have at number 3?
I have this one. You're going to find pretty controversial, I think. I have Napoli at number 3.
That is very controversial.
I know. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm going to stick with my guns. I think the sole reason I have them in this position is because they don't have that late stage European football experience in the team.
Yeah. Not even their manager. I don't think Spalletti's ever been that far. I don't want to assume, but I doubt it.
So... Yeah, I don't think that they're going to have that mental edge when they come against the big teams. And then I also think, yes, they've had an amazing team. Yes, they play amazing football. But I think Serie A is... Then I'm saying this with 3 Serie A teams, which makes no sense. And I said this earlier in the season as well, that I think Serie A is at one of the weakest points that it's been at in terms of overall quality through the league. But then you've got three teams in the Champions League quarterfinals, which makes no sense. But I still do think that some of the lowest quality football in top 5 leagues is being played in Serie A at the moment. So yeah, that's basically why I have them at number 3.
Okay, well, I have actually gone for your number 4 at number 3. I've gone for Bayern Munich. And a lot of it has to do with very similar reasons you stated, so I'm not going to repeat them. And I think, just like to do it quickly, the pressure on Tuchel to perform. Because one thing is, when he joined Chelsea in January, that time he did, and then he went on to win the FA Cup and the league. No, maybe not the FA Cup, definitely the league. Not the league, sorry, the Champions League, that he beat City in that final, when he also came in mid-season and stuff. And I think that's kind of the thinking that Bayern did. They were like, oh, well, this guy's come in mid-season, won a Champions League. Why can't he do it again? But when you've already done it, then the pressure to do that is so immense. Yeah. And the only thing we know about how this Bayern team is going to look under Tuchel is that they're probably going to play 3 at the back.
It's such a Bayern move to go and get Tuchel, because it reminds me of earlier in the season when they were like, oh, Neuer's broken his leg.
Let's go get the second best keeper in the league.
We're facing Man City in the next round, and we want to get rid of Nagelsmann. Oh, we'll just get Tuchel.
We'll bring the Pep tonight, as I like to call him. The guy, Thomas Tuchel, he beats Pep all the time. But I just think the pressure is a lot. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily like it wasn't like I was disappointed. I would say is the right word for Bayern's performance against PSG because they were comfortable the whole time, but it just seemed like they never really put the foot on the throat of
They
PSG.
didn't. Yeah, it didn't go for the throat.
And when you're playing a team like City, you have to go for the throat. And when your striker is Choupo-Moting and the defense you're playing is Nathan Ake, Ruben Dias, and Laporte, I'm sorry, Choupo-Moting is not going to do shit. Like if Rashford hasn't scored a goal against City this. Maybe that's a lie. But
no, he did score a great goal, the one from a totally onside position.
No, Bruno scored that goal. Like the ball went to Rashford, but Bruno scored it.
Oh no, but he scored the winner, right?
He scored the winner in the end. That's true. So, like if you just I just don't see how. But saying that, if they do beat City, the momentum and how that would make the team feel under Tuchel, I think would push them straight to the final.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So let's go with your number 2.
Number 2, I've got, I think the only option that I could do here is Real Madrid.
Wow, that's a very different opinion that we have, yeah.
And pretty much the only reason that I put them there is that Champions League dog you were talking about.
They got that dog in them.
Exactly. I mean,
it's so hard.
They're just so hard to count out. Like when they won last year. You know?
They should have lost every single fucking round, man.
Every round. They played shit against Chelsea. They played they were way worse in the final than Liverpool. Mm-hmm. Who else did they beat in there?
They beat us as well.
Yeah.
They beat Man City, which they played well both legs, but they beat us. Like we were up 1-0 and then they flipped it 2-1 in 30 seconds and they beat us in extra time. Like
that's crazy. Yeah. No, I think and that's the only reason I've got them in there is just because for some reason in the Champions League, those guys are just different gravy. Like it's and I think at least I thought like, they'll lose that now that Ronaldo's gone, but it's still there.
No,
it's still there.
Have that
it's just as strong, So yeah, that's literally the only reason I've got them there.
I can't blame you. I was flip-flopping with Madrid a lot, and I decided to bank them down just because I felt
to really trash them.
A little bit more certain about the other teams. Now that I'm looking at it, maybe I put them too low.
I'm very interested in what you've got in this spot because you've got the two teams that I thought you would have at number 1 and 2, but I wonder what order you've got them in.
So I got Man City at 2. And it's not because I don't think we will win it. I just think that we have a much tougher bracket than the team I put at number 1 in terms of the teams we have to play. I think City could feasibly either beat every single team like 8-0 or we just like draw 0-0 and then lose on penalties or something. Like the one thing that City are still missing, and it's still yet to be found if Haaland is the guy that's bringing this, is that fighter mentality of like, okay, well, things are not going to the perfect blueprint that Pep set up for us to be up 5-0 in 35 minutes. And that's when City are like completely lost. Haaland seems to bring in that little bit of spark, that little bit of unpredictability that fires City forward. Like, against Leipzig, we played so shit. Like, it was 1-1, but it was terrible game of football. And then we play them again. Everybody's like, oh, are Leipzig going to upset City? And we beat them 7-0 with Haaland scoring.
I was so hyped for that game. Yeah. I was like, Man City could go out.
The worst 5-goal performance ever by a player. Like, every goal was a tap-in that bounced off a defender and then went straight to him.
But I've never seen a player, like, in his defense, I've never seen a player with reactions.
Oh my God, he's like insane. A magnet. It's like the magnet it's like a magnet. His face is a magnet to the ball. Just boom, like
the ball barely even bounces off the keeper. He's already moving his foot back to hit it back in. Like it's
or the De Bruyne one, the one that De Bruyne hits the bar and it comes out. And Haaland, the second it hits the bar, you can see he's already running towards the ball before Gvardiol.
He's almost
going to go for 100 million.
Like he's almost in the
air. And Gvardiol is like still looking at the ball, like to see where it's going to land. Like his instinct is insane. Yeah. But I think the only thing that keeps me from putting them at 1 is the tricky side. And does City have that dog in them, like Real Madrid has? That dog that we've been talking about, City is the one thing that's killed us for so many years. Do we have it now with Haaland?
And you guys are still going to be wanting to fight for that Premier League title.
Which makes it difficult. Yeah. That's another
You can't rest players.
We can't rest players. We have to, and we also are not playing Inter Milan where you could be like, okay, well, if we win the first like 4-0, we'll just play like...
When are the games next week?
The 12th of April and 11th.
Oh, okay.
So 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
But you have City at 1. I'm assuming
I do have
that's
City
the
at
only
1.
team that
Yeah.
you haven't said.
Yeah, and I've just done this purely based on how good the team is. Otherwise, I would have put Real Madrid at 1 because, this Man City team is something else. It's just whether that they can finally bring it in the Champions League.
Yeah.
There's no doubting that you guys have the talent, you guys have the manager, you've got everything. And this is it. I reckon this is you guys' season.
I would just say that, the only thing that scares me too is the lack of consistency, because I've been more sure about us winning the Champions League in previous years without Haaland, because we were just so damn consistent and so damn good every single game. Like, there's been games where I watched it and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, we are not creating anything. We're just holding on to the ball.
Oh yeah, I've been there for them.
Where we just where you're watching it, the game ends 1-1 and you're like, what was that?
And you're screaming at the TV for Pep to make a sub.
Yeah, and it's the 89th and nobody's come on. I hate that. But that's why I have them at 2. But my number 1.
Why have you got Napoli?
I've had Napoli at number 1. And maybe
you've been saying this all season as well.
Yeah, that they might win it. And maybe I'm getting a little bit too caught up in the love story of Napoli. But genuinely, I think that they are the best team in Europe by far. I think the only team that comes close on form is maybe Arsenal. And you can't call Arsenal the best team in Europe because they're not in the Champions League. I'm sorry, I don't care if they win the league.
They're not even in Europa League.
They're not even in the Europa League. You can't call them the best team in Europe. So Napoli is the best team in Europe. They got the easy run, I would say. They also play my number 8 team.
That's true. If they play to their potential, if they play their football, they're in the final.
They're in the final.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those teams can beat them. The way that they play, like you said. They're also 19 points ahead in the league with only 11 games to go.
And rest all your players.
When they go play I don't know who's still in Serie A, who's really bad. When you go play your Cremoneses, your Empoli, are they still in Serie A? I have no idea. When you go play your Torino, your Sampdoria, maybe is I don't know. You know what? I'm fucking trying to figure out. Sassuolo is having a good season though. But anyways, when you play these teams, you can literally play whoever, because even if you lose, you're still 16 points ahead. You're so far ahead. They're not in the Coppa Italia, so they really only have the league, which is basically wrapped up already, and the Champions League. And the Champions League gave you a favorable draw.
Wait, how many games are they actually off winning the league? Because if they're 19 points clear,
and there's 11 left.
That's 8.
6.
So
they would need a 6-game advantage. So they're 5 away from winning the league. If they win their next 5 games, they win the league.
It's over.
It's over.
Yeah, but that wraps up.
That wraps it up. Napoli, technically by my rankings, Napoli would play City in the final, just because those are my 2 highest ranked teams on each side. It's the same for you as well. City would play Napoli.
City Napoli in the final.
That's probably my Champions League final prediction if I'm making one. That would be City Napoli.
That would make the most sense. I
think it would be a ridiculous final. It would be great. So fun.
But yeah, that is it from us for now. We will hopefully see you soon. Hope you've enjoyed. And we can't wait to get back to some proper football this weekend.
Yeah.
See ya.
Take care.